Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, and we're going to be delivering you a transfer update here today. It's going to be a bit jam-packed, so we're going to try to do our best in getting through the news as quickly as we can, but there are some important ones to keep you updated on. So do remember, everybody, to smash that like button, get your comments in down below on any of the news that we do discuss here as well. Hit that notification bell because we are going to try our very best to get these out daily for you guys. But let's start first with the James Madison race, and it looks like Spurs could be losing the James Madison race. Newcastle have been encouraged to believe they are James Madison's desired destination. There's a growing confidence Leicester and Newcastle will be able to reach a compromise on price for the reported THFC priority target. That comes from Luke Edwards of The Telegraph here, and that really did just came in, by the way, everybody. So I am going to kind of give you the older one here that just came up from the same source, of course, Luke Edwards of The Telegraph. And he says James Madison is at the top of Newcastle's wanted list and a deal is slowly progressing for the Tottenham target. Claims that Newcastle are the front runners are premature and they still face a battle to agree a fee. So he said that earlier in the day, and it looks like maybe things have heated up since then. And it could be it's heading more towards James Madison preferring that move over to the likes of Newcastle. Now, what's interesting to me, I would say, is that James Madison, he seemed to be a guy that might prefer that move to London, but it could be that the Champions League is just too much of something to pass up on, and there aren't too many clubs that seem to be interested in him other than the likes of Newcastle and Spurs. They do seem to be the front runners, and in that case, he's really just deciding between maybe a more comfortable lifestyle or whatever he might prefer in the case of London versus playing in the Champions League and playing for a club that really looks to be on the up right now, and that is Newcastle versus a club that seems to be on the down, but maybe could be on the up in certain ways with the likes of Postecoglou being brought in and this new rebuild. But does James Madison really want to go through that? Does he maybe want to just inject himself straight away into that sort of Newcastle team and just be an influence right away over there? He might seem to be preferring that. Next on the list is that Spurs seem to have genuine interest in the likes of Jadon Sancho over at Man United. It does seem that Jadon Sancho maybe is shown the exit door. At least he's not exactly settled in. I think ever since he's been brought into that Man United team, it hasn't exactly worked out, and maybe he's looking for a different pasture and a new club to be moved on to. And it's come from Ben Jacobs here of the likes of CBS Sports, Golasso, and other sources. And Sancho's definitely struggled to make an impact at United since that 73 million pound move. And I feel like he is a really good individual that he really did show his best self over at the likes of Borussia Dortmund, which was a very sort of pressing side, by the way. So if we are going to be doing a similar type of, high pressing with the likes of Postecoglou, that could be something familiar to the likes of Jadon Sancho. But that being said, he has, I think, had maybe more of a style of play that suits him with the likes of Ten Hag, but it still hasn't really, suited him best, or maybe just something is going wrong in the kid's head at the moment in time. But I feel like, yeah, it hasn't really worked out. But for someone who's still so young and so talented, and we see can still absolutely have his moment of just, pure quality, especially the way he scored against us. I feel like he is somebody that's worth taking a shot at. I'm not really sure what sort of fee they would be willing to let him go for, maybe something around the 50 million pound mark. Is he worth maybe the same price that we would be investing in the likes of a James Madison? Potentially, but that also then means is who really is going to be that creative midfielder for us, because Kulusevski could certainly do it. Maybe Kane can do it, but that would mean then we're sort of giving up on getting that nice conventional midfielder in the likes of James Madison and instead going for an up and coming English winger, I guess, in the case of Jadon Sancho. Next bit of news is going to be more of an update on the likes of David Raya and that whole saga there, because we are seemingly the front runners at this moment in time, but it doesn't look like maybe Brentford are budging on that 40 million pound fee, because their director of football has come out and spoke today. Lee Dykes, that guy, let us remind you, was actually interested, or at least we were interested, should I say, in at least trying to bring him over here. But he just said, I think recently, that we sat in front of David Raya and said, if you go beyond us, then that's time for you to go. It's well within his rights. He told this podcast that a 40 million pound fee, you really would have to pay double that reported 20 million pound evaluation, because he can play in the number 10 position. I think from this sort of kind of quote is that he's basically just, trying to give David Raya, as much plaudits and as much, praise as possible to sort of validate and sort of at least make it seem like he is worth every penny of that 40 million pounds. Considering they've already brought in their sort of replacement keeper, Flecken, who looks to actually to be a really good keeper with the ball at his feet. In fact, might even be better than the likes of David Raya, because he has some of, at least what I've seen, to be some of the best stats, I think, across Europe for, being able to sort of play from out the back as sort of the modern goalkeeper. But David Raya, don't get me wrong, I think is definitely a talented goalkeeper. Certainly is definitely a good guy for the here and now, and maybe around 30 million pounds, I think, is probably just worth, sort of just taking it and not really haggling too much. But I agree with a lot of people that say the 40 million pound evaluation for a guy that's already going to be headed out the door the following year and is maybe around 27, 28 years old, also with maybe a replacement keeper already there, does seem like maybe Brentford don't have as much of a bargaining sort of chip to play with as they might think, unless maybe somebody were to come in all of a sudden into this David Raya race and actually come from under us and pay that evaluation that they seem to be so stubborn on. Another bit of news is that Spurs are apparently monitoring the Celtic midfielder Ryo Hatate, the Japanese international. That's come from Sammy Mockbell of the Daily Mail, and he said that Spurs are monitoring Celtic midfielder Ryo Hatate, though there are some concerns over whether the 25-year-old will qualify for a work permit. I'm not really sure what really, any type I don't know the work permit sort of system when it comes to these athletes and players, and I don't really want to speculate or anything, but perhaps maybe his recent move to the likes of Celtic. I'm not sure if he's been there all that long, and so maybe he's not allowed to move to Celtic and then all of a sudden move to the likes of England, that quickly. But I really wouldn't know, and I can't really speculate. But I imagine is if they are going to actually go after him, and if there is real genuine interest in Hatate, I'm sure they can find some workaround like they always do, or some sort of exception. But when it comes to Ryo Hatate, don't know very much about him. All I know is that he plays in central midfield, and it looks like Ange Postecoglou really trusts him and really likes him. I feel like we could probably go after better, but if he really thinks that that's the guy that sort of just makes it work, makes it tick for him, he doesn't need to be the most talented player in the world as long as Postecoglou thinks that that's the right guy for his system. So if that's really his man, then absolutely do it. And maybe we can actually save a bit of coin on it. But at the same time, I'm not really sure if he's exactly the best that there is, maybe for the position that he would be playing, which is more of, I think, a number 8 type of role in this system. And I think there are plenty of good players that we already have in the squad right now. But if we really are going to go after somebody, feels like, we could do maybe a bit better than Hatate. But anybody that knows plenty about the Japanese internationals or the likes of Celtic, do let me know. Is Hatate actually capable of making that step up to the likes of Premier League? The other bit of news is that Man United seeming to be losing hope in their pursuit of Harry Kane. It looks increasingly unlikely that Manchester United will be able to do a deal to sign Harry Kane from Tottenham this summer, and that's come from Sky Sports. My quick thoughts on Harry Kane and this whole saga: I feel like it's more likely he might get sold to Real Madrid, because I think they're more capable of throwing in an utterly ridiculous type of fee, like a 200 million pound fee that probably is just too much for Levy to pass up. Whereas I feel like Man United never really were capable of throwing in that type of money. And also, I don't really feel like Daniel Levy is ever going to budge on the likes of giving him to a rival in the Premier League. He might lose him on a free the following summer, which certainly would look quite silly. But at the same time, even if we do end up losing Harry Kane on a free, I think that's sort of a price we just have to pay, because right now we need to be focusing on that defense, goalkeeper, maybe even getting a left back or another fullback if need be, because of Pedro Porro, Nudogi. You also look at creative midfield and positions there that need to be filled in, especially if we're going to be moving on certain midfielders in this team. So I just feel like there's so many areas that need to be drawn attention to, and really need major upgrades and need a major rebuild. And I feel like if you're then going to sell Harry Kane, this might turn into like what, an 8 or 9, 10 person, kind of transfer window. And we've seen how that worked for the likes of Chelsea, seen how that works for the likes of Nottingham Forest. It didn't really work out too much. It could work out in the future for them, but I didn't think it worked out for the here and now. And I feel like that's just too much change, too much turnover. And also as well, you're finding yourself where you're solving just so many things at once in one summer, whereas you would think that would take a few windows to solve, and you're trying to do it all in one summer. So too much for me. I think Harry Kane has to stay this summer, and I think we're just going to have to find a way to convince him to sign on a new contract, hopefully in the season. Other bits of news is that Messi has been working very hard on vacation. Anybody who follows him would know that he's in Mykonos right now. It seems like, he's enjoying himself a little bit, and he's working hard. He's on the bike. He's working out with his buddies, and looks like Messi's having a good old time out there. And do let me know, everybody, if Messi has his eyes more set on the likes of the Sevilla, or if he has maybe any sort of hope to still break into that Spurs team. Would also like to congratulate the likes of Archie, Chaplin, and Alfie Dorrington here. The two have signed professional contracts with the likes of Spurs, two very talented center backs out of the academy. And this is good news as well, because what we really need are center backs to be produced. We're so good at producing attackers, but what we need are some talented defenders to come out. And the announcement came from the club saying we are delighted to announce that Archie Chaplin has signed his first professional contract with the club. A tall, commanding central defender, Archie has been with us since his under 15 years and was a key figure in our under 17 and under 18 Premier League Cup double winning side last season. In total, the 17-year-old made 24 appearances in all competitions for our under 18s during 2022-23 season, while also playing 4 times in the under 19 UEFA Youth League during the first half of the campaign. And when it comes to the likes of Alfie Dorrington here, everyone, it says from the club that we are delighted to announce that Alfie Dorrington has signed a new contract with the club that will run until 2026. The 18-year-old central defender was an integral part of our youth side that completed the under 17 under 18 Premier League Cup double last season. In all, he made 20 appearances in all competitions for under 18s and stepped up to play 12 times for the under 21s in 22-23 season, while also starting 5 out of our 6 games in the UEFA Youth League. With us since the age of 13, Alfie signed his first professional contract in April 2022 and has been capped by England between under 15s and under 18 level to date. He says, I'm a boyhood Tottenham fan. It's a dream to be here, and everything has been going in the good direction for me. You'll be hearing more from Alfie Dorrington after he puts pen to paper on this new contract. So there it is, everybody. There's your transfer update and a bit of news that's come about with the likes of Tottenham. Do let me know if there's anything I might have missed out, if there is anything that maybe I said that you disagree with or feel like needs to be touched on further. But in those comments down below, get your comments in on anything that might have been of interest to you, of any sort of news that maybe has come out that has disappointed you, or as well as maybe giving you some interest for the likes of the summer ahead. Smash that like button on the way out, everybody, and we will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs.